Hi, my name is Amanda Levine, and today's topic is nonverbal communication. It is estimated that people communicate at least as much nonverbally as they do verbally, according to an article called Louder Than Words written by Fred Lunenburg. Now, we might ask ourselves why this is important, especially in any type of public speaking situation or a face-to-face conversation. Lunenburg goes on to state that this is because gestures show how a person is feeling or their attitude towards the subject at hand. He uses the examples of enthusiasm and nervousness. With enthusiasm, you generally see more gestures and a more positive attitude towards the subject at hand. With nervousness or any other type of negative feeling, you're going to see somebody who's drawn more inward and with less positivity. I'm going to be talking about 3 different types today, and I'll give you a brief description of each of them, and then we'll move forward into them. So first up is facial expressions, or also called the first responders of emotion, according to Lunenburg. Next up is eye contact. They have the ability to draw people in, push people away, or just create a general sense of uneasiness. And finally is posture. And posture has the ability to show a person's attitude towards the message that they are trying to convey. First up is facial expressions. Lunenburg states that the most universally recognized facial expressions are happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. Now, I already mentioned that they are the first responders for emotion, and Lunenburg goes on to explain that this is because when you are feeling an emotion, your facial muscles are automatically triggered, and it leaves the emotion written across your face. Next up is eye contact. Now, we all know what eye contact is, but do we know what it actually does? Lunenburg states that eye contact has the ability to signal the beginning and the end of a conversation. It can convey emotion. It can create a relationship between the two people, and it can acknowledge somebody's presence. So during any kind of public speech we may be having, it's important to connect with your audience on that level because it makes them more interested in what you have to say. However, there is a list of things not to do when going through any kind of eye contact with another, and that is any kind of prolonged eye contact or staring. And Lunenburg states that this is because it creates intense feelings. It can show hostility, defensiveness, and even romantic feelings towards the other, which is not something you want in a speech. So we do not want to look like Steve Carell here, nor do we want to get too excited and look like this lady here, because it's just awkward, and it really just leaves your audience with a sense of negativity that they leave with, which is not something that you want. Posture. Now, I specifically put posture in here because I feel that it's not one that we generally pay attention to because it's more of a learned habit. Some people have good posture and some people have bad posture. But in public speaking specifically, you want to pay attention to your posture because it does reflect the attitude you have towards the message you are trying to convey, according to Lunenburg. And he uses the examples of leaning forward and leaning backwards. With leaning forward, it shows a general positive attitude towards the whatever message or whatever you may be talking about at that specific moment. And leaning backwards, it shows the opposite. And much like standing upright straight, it shows confidence. But leaning forward and slouching, it shows the exact opposite yet again. So when we are talking in front of people in that manner, we want to present ourselves with confidence, and we want to show that we are interested in what we are saying because it keeps them interested in what we are saying. So why are these important? Now, I've touched a little bit on posture and eye contact as to why they are important. But according to an article called The Importance of the Nonverbal Communication, there are 5 different ways that nonverbal communication affects a face-to-face conversation or affects the message. And nonverbal communication has the ability to reinforce what you're trying to say. It's also called repetition. Next is substitution. It can take place of words. Next up is complementing, which means it can complement what you're trying to say. And then accenting, which means it highlights the main points you are trying to say. Now, I left contradiction for last because it's the only negative one in there. And it means that nonverbal communication has the ability to contradict what you are trying to say, which is not something that you want in any type of public speaking forum. So what exactly do we want our nonverbal communication skills to do? Referring back to the article, The Importance of Nonverbal Communication, we want our nonverbal communication to highlight, complement, and reinforce what we are already saying. And we can do this through our facial expressions, our eye contact, and our posture. But there are so many different things, different types of nonverbal communication that I didn't even get into that you can use as well. And I like to think of using them as a type of accessory on top of the message we are saying, because the message we are trying to get across to people is important to us, and we want it to be important to everybody else. So our nonverbal communication has to be on point with that as well. And as the article, The Importance of Nonverbal Communication says, make sure that what you are saying is as poignant as what you aren't saying.